So the biggest thing that I've seen a lot of people, and they want to know, what is the difference between winning in PvP and losing in PvP? And that's very simple. It's not about your build. You can outplay a player 1v1. If you're good at landing headshots, you can always outplay them no matter what build you have. You truly can. Other people, they'll use Cronus, things like that. They'll get a better advantage, and it's going to be tough. But the main key to this game is team. This is a team-based game. Team synergy is vital. And because team synergy is vital, you got to know how to make the proper builds for PvP. So a lot of people have these builds, but they don't synergize them properly to gain the most advantage from the build. Now, the reason why I say that is because you see a lot of people doing double demolitionist, and we tested this out earlier today, and the double demolitionist actually lost damage for some reason. We don't know why. It was only about a 1k loss in damage. So it's finding the right synergy to get as much damage as possible for your teammates. So we're going to go over the builds and where they actually need to be if you're going to do the best team synergy. Now, when it comes to healing, healing is vital as a team. So the two best medics I'll show you with this right here. Number one is you must have the crossbow. The crossbow is for the outgoing healing. It's going to help give your teammates what they need as well as extra damage from stuff. But because you have all these yellow cores, you might as well throw on a capacitor or the Scorpio. Now, you may not be using these as a medic as much, but to have them on is just as good. Now, the reason why is because you can get this extra 20% still if you shoot them about 8 times. You can get bleed, disorientate, or bleed, disrupt, and snare. So still having one of these two, the capacitor or the Scorpio, on is best. Now, your backup needs to be a high damage weapon with great stability. The military AKM, or the other version of this right here, is just as good, but you want the Reformation to give that extra heals at times if they need it. Okay, now again, you're probably not going to be using these because your job is just to chem and heal up your teammates and stuff like that. Now, the best backpack and setup is this, period. There's no other beating this setup. I've got videos that show this. Now, the Safeguard and the RNK are the best, but the Alps chest like this with Empathetic Resolve, you can drop this off and put on a future chest piece to give 25, and then put the BTSU gloves. So this is the other version of this build right here, the way it looks. Now, again, the Alps with Empathetic will give your team an extra 5%, and the RNK, because the outgoing healing and the incoming repairs will keep your player alive and recharged, to keep the Safeguard up and going, to give 160% heals versus the 120 using the future backpack. So right here we have these. Now I'm missing the 20% mod, so it's a little bit less, but you see we're sitting at 403 in healing. And then we have, was it 679 for healing in the dark zone. And then if we change this back, we put the Alps on, take the BTSU gloves off, put the future on here, we got an extra 20%, which isn't that much, but we'll just take a look at the numbers. And we're at 456. So we gained an extra 50k on the Hive. And we gained a crap ton more for 769. So we've literally jumped on almost 100k more in healing just by using this right here. Now, another good version of a healer which would allow your teammates to actually have damage is doing an efficient healer. So again, you're going to use the crossbow to give out the heals. So no other players need to be doing that unless you're running efficient or a healer build. But because we can give extra damage for status, you can also use the Scorpio as your main weapon while you're using the efficient. And then you can even throw on a damage piece like this Badger Tough backpack like I have right here with Opportunistic to give your teammates that extra damage that they need, just as so it's similar to the healer's damage. Because you can give them 10% here Or you could even go and put the opportunistic, which is the setup like this one, give them the 15, and then when you status effect a player with your shotgun, you're giving them the 25, just like the future piece. So this allows you to give them the future damage on a player that you shoot, and at the same time you put on your efficient med pack, being the healer. That's going to give your teammates that extra heals that they need to stay alive. So just using the shotgun as your main piece would allow those players to have that, as well as using the Catharsis mask on this will give you back some extra heals and take away status. So the setup for this build is pretty simple, but you want to make sure you have some crit chance on this build, because you're not going to be having a whole lot of crit chance, just about 44%, and I'll show you why later on, and we'll get into the other builds of why you just need to break that 40 plane. But as for the damage wise, we've got a lot of crit damage, and shotguns don't need a whole lot of crit damage, or a lot of crit chance, they just need the crit damage. Now here, when we do happen to get the other holster, you could even say run a Seska if you wanted to get the crit chance, but the new holster that's coming, you can even hold off and put that in that spot, and we'll test that out later on. But again, these are the type of builds you want to set up and get together. So you want this chest piece, the Bellstone, for that extra armor regen and the better perfect efficient. But all these other pieces, same spot, crit damage everywhere else. And heck, even if you wanted to, you can even do a walker set of gloves to get the weapon damage out, and then get the extra crit chance if you needed so. And then put, say, another piece of walker on here somewhere, if you prefer. Again, player's choice, get the extra damage to armor, get the extra crit chance out. You're not losing a whole lot out of the build. But this here, because you're doing this, this player needs to run the booster hive on this to help their teammates avoid the status. Now this is why he's doing this as a healer. He's dropping that booster just as a healer to help get rid of the statuses, to help heal them. So this is the booster guy. He needs to be the booster one. Now what you run for your other piece doesn't matter. But as you see, we can keep medding up and medding up. That's going to give our teammates the heals for those who don't understand this type of play. And then you med up. Again, you're low. You could hurt yourself by tossing a fire grenade. And then you see we also get the chem down here. So this is going to keep us alive. That also gives outgoing healing. So this is the player that needs to have the Catharsis mask. And again, that incoming repairs will also do a little bit of outgoing healing. It's not a whole lot, but it's something. Something is better than nothing. And you see, we're still got like 3 now, so. Now this player is going to be your gunner build, okay? Now, you can trade between the firewall or, say, sharpshooter, but you want the shield splinter. Everybody's always running the FAMAS. You don't need the crit chance, you don't need the FAMAS, you need the extra damage. Go with the perfect opportunist. Go with that. It's going to be a lot better. And as you can see, I have this mod on there. I'll talk about that later. But you can switch between this or the sniper specialist. Player's choice as you want, so on and so forth. It's honestly as you want to be. But this player is going to be your up close and personal. And because he's up close and personal, he's going to give that extra coyotes piece. So that up close and personal with the firewall helps this one out, because it also gives your teammates an extra 10% damage. Because you're closer to them, and because you also give them, when you shoot close, that crit damage, you're helping your teammates out in 2 ways versus just 1. Now here you want a Seska chest piece. You don't want the Fenris, you want the Seska. Now I'll explain this later on. Now right now I'm using the Walker gloves for the extra damage to armor. We will trade that out to some Fenris gloves, and we'll test out the Walker holster, or not the Walker, but the new holster that's going to give the 5% damage and the skill haste to help out the player. But this second piece of Walker, because we have the Matador backpack, gives us the crit chance and the damage to armor. We're only losing, I think, 3% damage to armor to gain crit chance. But if you can find this Matador backpack, that's going to give you a little bit more survivability. Just a tiny bit, but again, every little bit helps. So that's what we're going for right here, is as much damage and as much survivability that we potentially can as a team. So this player is going to be using the jammer pulse because he's going close to the players. Also, he's going to be the one who can chem launch a guy so he can get close to the players and he can put him on riot foam. So this is going to be your riot foam and your EMP guy. Now, let's show you some damage numbers. And again, players in the DZ are on veteran status. So again, we're not hitting a whole lot because I'm not showing you with all the other players nearby. But again, we're talking with the boost, we could jump this up to possibly another 50% weapon damage with everybody else's stuff giving us those extra damages. But again, we're at 55, 153. We don't need the crit chance. All we need is a crit damage. This is going to be your player that's going to beam players down. Now, you can always put in that extra crit chance here, but I'm going to show you why you don't want to do that, okay? So I'm going to put this crit chance here, and we're going to shoot. Even though you can see we're at 60 and 153, I'm going to show you a little problem. Even with this crit damage, none of them changed, but that one muzzle, the extra stability, breaks this weapon. Watch this. Look at the pop shots. It jumps. Now you can tell I'm not using Cronus because of that right there. It's jumping up and down. Now people with Cronus, they're going to be able to shoot straight as an arrow. So they don't need that stability. Players who don't have that, they need the stability. Well, here we go. Now watch the stability. Look at how accurate that is. You're able to beam headshots. So another player who's on your team who's using the sniper specialist is going to give you that extra 10% headshot damage. So you're going to get 10% more damage out of this build just from that player alone. Now this player right here, this one is going to be your player that's potentially going to be using the sniper or the grenadier. One of the two. Doesn't really matter, but you can go with the grenadier if you want. Okay, so we got the medic, we got the damage. Now we've got the extra damage to targets out of cover. Now on this right here, we want companion. Now you don't have to use this companion with the walker. You could even use adrenaline rush if you prefer, but getting that companion out is going to help the teammates out as well. Now I'll explain why here in a second, because with this little roly-poly ball, they can't really jammer you, but this player is going to be staying far enough back that you get that extra explosive damage, and this guy is going to be the guy who gets those players who are on the ground and a kill with that little bitty ball. So this player's main weapon is going to be the Kingbreaker. He's going to be spotting everybody with the Night Watcher like this. It's showing where everybody's at. That's the team synergy I'm talking about. He tells where everybody else is at. This is going to be your commander. Now, the Fenris chest piece, this one honestly is a must with Spotter. You want to find this one. Now, the holster, we can trade that holster out if we want to. Later on, get some extra skill haste for those skills with the new holster that's coming out. But honestly, the Grupo is just as good. Now, again, with this right here, you're going to be able to survive some burns. So this player is going to need this Grenadier on. He's going to be a little bit more squishy. I have 4 blues. You can drop this down to 1 blue or 2 blues or 3 blues as you see fit. But honestly, it doesn't matter. It hits so hard. Now, again, crit chance 50, 156. You're going to get even more crit damage from the other player, extra damage from the other players as well. So these numbers I'm going to show y'all, it's just going to go up and up and up. We're talking an extra 50% just for all the other stuff that you're getting from your other players. Now, a good backup is a good shield splinter. You know, in case you didn't pulse an enemy or someone's pulse resistant, have that shield splinter ready. So let's disable this and we'll pulse an enemy. And you see 8.8 seconds. And it lasts for almost 12 or 11. So yeah, we get it back just as fast as they would go away. So before we pulse, let's see what the damage numbers are. 494. 494 before any extra damage. We pulse. 681. Yeah, 781 was for the health, but 681 is what we got for the armor. Now we get the extra piece, the companion, and the pulse. 784. 784, and that's from about what, 32 meters is the damage drop off. So yeah, again, and then when we add on those other pieces, we're talking 1 mil in numbers. 1 mil. Now again, that's 33%, but still, that's at 4 blues, ladies and gentlemen. 4 blues, and it's still just beams players. Because again, we're talking about team synergy with this. These builds synergize with each other to give everybody a certain amount of damage. Now the other cool part about this is, like I said, rather than having a drone or something, we have the roly-poly ball, and we have this right here to help our teammates get the pulse out. We can move around with the roly-poly, and most players can't see that little roly-poly because it's so small. So if this player stays far enough back, he won't get jammered. He can keep pulsing for his teammates. So this player is not going to be your close and personal. This player is going to be a little bit farther back. So again, you can even use the sniper specialist if you wanted. Now this one here is a close and personal build. Now this one here, you definitely want this walker backpack here because you need the survivability. Here you can use the minigunner to give your teammates the extra weapon damage, but this is what I was saying, if the other player who's going to be your beam person is using the sniper, you can put on the grenadier for this player. He doesn't need the damage targets out of cover, everybody else can gain that, but this player right here with the shotgun is vital. This player right here is basically going to walk up, hit one player, rip their armor apart, get rid of the other team's medic. This is the player you're going to go to. And again, you don't have to use the minigunner because there is ammo in different spots. You can go get ammo. So I just have it on here right now. And you can trade this one here for the other build prior and get the headshot damage and then put the grenadier on this one. Now, this right here, Optimist, is your better talent to have on this shotgun. Now, this shotgun is also the best shotgun out there for one reason. It gets a little bit more stability, a little bit more accuracy. Now, because this player's job is to get close and personal, he needs the Catharsis mask. You can run a Coyotes with it to get the extra damage because he's close and personal, but you would prefer this player to have the Catharsis to get that extra damage so he can one-shot a player. Now, with this, put on the 0F's chest piece. Get that perfect unbreakable. Now, if you're not going to run the Catharsis and you want to help your teammates out even more, put on a tardigrade. You can trade the 0F's for a tardigrade and set it up like this. Now, you would want to put on a Seska mask, get the tardigrade here, and then keep the Petrov gloves and the Overlord knee pads. You want these in those specific spots just for this reason. So that way you can have this shotgun still crit, hit them for as strong as possible, and help your teammates get that extra tardigrade buff. The Grupo, again, we're going to trade out this possibly later for the other holster that's coming. But again, the Petrov gloves, you want as much damage to armor as possible. So that's why we're using the Petrov gloves. And the Overlord knee pads for the damage to targets out of cover. Now, because this player has to get close and personal, he needs a decoy. He also can slow them down, all the teammates that are nearby, by putting on the bleed hive. So this player can slow them down so they can't chase them by putting them on bleed. So that's where the team synergy comes in. Certain skills, certain things for certain players to do certain jobs, certain aspects. And you see, almost 3-shot. And that's before we've gotten anything. If you try to aim for the head, you're going to miss a lot of shots, so it's going to take 4. And you see, we nearly killed at least all of its armor off with just that one, and we still have crit damage that's missing. So if we throw the crit damages in here, alright, give me a good target. 1, 2, you see almost 2 took it completely down. And with those other teammates' extra damage, you can almost 1 to 2 tap a player for sure every time. Every time, 1 to 2 tap with this build, because you're also going to get that extra 50% bonuses. So again, just setting them up like this, teammates, you know, helping them out. And again, we got crit chance on here. So again, setting your team up like this is vital. 48 and 144. Now again, those are the typical big groups that you're going to see running those types of builds. You as a player do not have to set those builds up if you're not going to run in a group. Now, if you are going to run in a group, I would suggest it, because that way your team has the most survivability, has the most damage, has the most synergy with the specialists, with the other stuff that they can get. Now, when you're running solo, again, there are some builds like my pistol build, which can 2-tap certain players. There's other ones where you can just run one blue, run spotter vigilance. You can still run Heartbreaker in the dark zone. Once people realize you're running that, they'll run pulse resistance. So there are counters to everything. Even with those builds I give you, you could all get slapped down if you're all grouped together and hit by a mortar. So again, we'll go over tactics and stuff like that in a different video later on, but the main key to this game is always going to be a team-based game, so it's synergy. Team synergy is a must. So there are some people who like to play solo. For those people, good job, congratulations. But again,